Here's a list of materials that I'll be using to create my crepe paper sunflower. Firstly, I'm using 180 GSM Italian crepe paper from Cartotecnico Rossi. The colors I'm using are yellow, code 576, light green, code 562, dark brown, code 568, light brown, code 567, and black, code 602. I'll also be using florist wire. This is a number 18 wire that is pre-wrapped that I bought at a local craft store. If you're in Singapore, you can get this at Art Friend. For the leaf stalks, I'll use the number 20 wire, and this can be purchased at your local wholesale florist. I bought mine from Far East Orchid. For tools, I recommend a mini hot glue gun, a good pair of scissors, and some wire cutters. These are also available as add-ons on my Etsy store. Remember to also have the templates ready. I suggest printing it out on a thick cardstock so that it will be more durable. For the sunflower center, I'm using a mix of browns and black. I'll use my template to cut out one rectangle in black, 5 rectangles in dark brown, and 1 rectangle in light brown. Of course, this is my own formula, and you're free to change up the numbers and play with the different combinations. If you've purchased the kit, you should have plenty of extra crepe to experiment with. For each rectangle, I'll stretch it out and fold it into half along its width. So when I stretch my crepe, I actually like to do it on my tabletop, and that just ensures that my stretch is very smooth and even. I also stretch my crepe just to thin it out so that the sunflower center will have a softer feel to it. Then I'll fringe the non-folded edge by first folding it into half and then cutting thin consistent strips no more than halfway down the width. Remember to take your time and check after you've unfolded your strip in case you've missed out any areas. I'll repeat this step for each of the 7 strips. If you like to fringe your strip a little quicker and don't mind cutting a thicker pile, feel free to actually fold your strip into a quarter like I'm doing right now, and that'll just speed up the process. So I'm just going to speed up the video over here so that it will be quicker. And you'll notice that I'm actually cutting the unfolded side of the strip, and this is just my preference. However, if you like to experiment with a different look for your sunflowers, you can also try cutting the other edge, that is the folded edge, and that will just give a different look and feel to your sunflower center. To cut my petals, I like to first cut a long strip of yellow crepe, following the height of my petal. Then I'll do an accordion fold behind my petal, and this allows me to cut multiple petals at once. Remember to check that the grain of your crepe paper, which refers to the lines of the crepe, is parallel to the upright petal. You'll need to cut about 30 petals. So I use this accordion fold method just so that I can cut multiple petals at once, but just work with whatever you're comfortable with. If you prefer cutting the petals maybe one at a time or two at a time, definitely feel free to go ahead and do so. I'm just a little bit lazy, so I like to cut 5 or 6 petals at a time, as long as you're comfortable with it. Also, another thing about cutting your petals, please don't worry about having every petal look perfect. It's totally fine if some petals are a little bit off or a little bit asymmetrical. The template is really just a guideline for you, and later when we stretch out the petals, it's really not very obvious anyways if your petals aren't perfectly the same as the template. So remember to just take it easy and enjoy the process. Once your petals are cut, you can cup them individually. Cupping basically means stretching the widest part of your petal to create a concave shape. I like to pinch the sides with my thumb and index finger, and then stretch the petal towards me in a curved shape. I usually leave the tip and the base of the petal unstretched. Cupping takes a while to get a hang of, so don't be afraid to vary the amount of pressure or the extent of stretch until you find the way that is most comfortable for you. I'm gonna go ahead and speed up the video, but remember to enjoy this cupping process. I always find that this is the most fun part of making crepe paper flowers, and once you're all done with 30 petals, we can proceed to gluing. At this point, if you haven't already, you can actually start switching on your hot glue guns because they take a while to warm up. For assembling the bloom, we first start with our thick floral wire. I first want to trim my wire to my desired length, and for the purpose of this video, I'll just have a very short stalk so that you can see the entire stalk easily. I also want to wrap the tip of my wire so that no part of the metal is visible. I'll cut a dark brown strip of crepe and wrap it around the wire in a technique I call the bow tie technique. This is where I'll twist the center of my brown crepe paper strip, creating a knot in the middle, and then I cup the two ends to make a bow tie. I'll glue one end of the bow tie to my wire, aligning the knot with the tip of my wire, and then fold the other end over and around, ensuring that it's wrapped smoothly around the tip of my wire. Next, I'll start gluing on the brown fringe strip, aligning the tip of my strip with the tip of the wrapped wire. I'll apply the hot glue in short sections since I wouldn't want my glue to dry up before I reach the end of the strip. I'll glue on 2 more dark brown strips, followed by 1 black, 1 light brown, and 2 dark browns. Again, this formula and order is completely up to you. You can even make the center smaller or bigger according to your preference. I also like to vary the height of my strips so that the center has a concave shape. And you can create the shape by slowly raising the height of your strip as you're wrapping the strip around the center. You can see that the bottom of my flower head is kind of like a cone shape, and that just creates that concave look to the sunflower head when you look from the top down. Now that my center is ready, I'll start gluing my petals one by one. The beauty of sunflowers is that their petals aren't strictly symmetrical, so you don't really have to worry about your petals being equal distance from each other. I always find that some randomness will add a touch of realism to your bloom. I usually work with 10 petals for the first layer, and then I go back and fill up the gaps, or the windows as I like to call them, for the second layer. As you can see, when I'm applying glue to my petals, I only apply glue right at the base of my petal, and I'm also positioning my petals to be facing outwards or downwards, as that is just my personal preference. Of course, you're welcome to play around with the direction of the petals. Some might face inwards, some might face outwards. It's really up to you. So I'm just going to speed up the video over here very quickly, but basically I'm just gluing on 10 petals for each layer, and I'm aiming to have 3 layers in total. Now, 30 for the number of petals is really just an arbitrary number that I find works best for me. So if you find that you want to work with more petals or less petals, feel free to go ahead and give it a shot. So what I like to do when I'm gluing on my petals is to not really worry about the exact positioning, but just to keep checking from the top view to see if there are any gaps, and then I'll go ahead and fill those gaps in. As long as it looks good and there are no, obvious holes, your sunflowers should look really pretty and really great. The calyx is one of the tougher parts, but with some patience, I'm sure you'll be able to wrap the bottom of the sunflower beautifully. Using the template, cut out 10 sepals with your light green crepe. You can then proceed to gently cup each sepal. When gluing on the sepals, I like to apply glue in a straight line so that the sepal firmly attaches to both the sunflower and the wire. Now this just provides additional reinforcement to the flower head, ensuring that it doesn't really move about, and also helps to create a seamless connection between the large flower head and the stalk.